Welcome back, everybody. I got a continuation of a previous video for you. We're going to explore a little more of the 3D print cutters. We're just going to do a little bit inside Zbrush. I'm going to show you how to get it out of there and into a slicer, whichever slicer you like. I'm going to show you the Prusa Slicer today. It's free to download, so you can go grab it and configure it to your printer. Not a big deal. So let's get started. We're going to go ahead and load up our macros here, the 3D print cutters. If you've go to the few videos back there, it goes over this whole thing there. And we're going to load up the demo here, and we're going to drag them out. T for edit, and turn on live boolean. Alright, now we can see everything is all cut up nice and neat. We can see where our cuts are on the arms and the wrists, the head, and the backpack back here. And what we do need real quick, go to your macro again and load cutters. It'll load it up for you. We're going to do this cutter tube 3. No, let's go 1. Cutter tube 1. And we're going to go down to the legs real quick here. Let me get to... And we'll go down to the joint cutter there. And we'll add it to that one because it's already set up for us. And go ahead and click and drag out on that left boot or right boot, just depending on how you look at it. And go ahead and click on move. Turn on a polyfill so we can see it. I'm going to reset this. Reset the rotation there. Hold down shift and get it to 90 degrees. Perfect. And let's make sure it encompasses the whole foot. And this is a symmetrical model, so we don't have to worry about, make sure it's not clipping anywhere. And go ahead and click off the polyfill. As you can see, now it's nice and cut in there. And we're going to go ahead and click off move real quick and just do a quick mirror and weld. Alright, cool beans. That's cut just right. And so, okay, so now basically you did all your print cutters and everything looks good. You should have already adjusted your scale inside Zbrush there to figure out how big your model wants to be. I think this one is set up for 12 inches. So we'll go to Scale Master. We'll do a new bounding box here. So now we can see how tall he's going to be. We're going to set it to inches for everybody in the US. Everybody else, millimeters, centimeters, whatever. We are on the bounded box, and go ahead, sliders to subtool size. As you can see, the Y, which is your up and down inside ZBrush, is 12 inches. You can always adjust it now. It's always better to adjust it now than as opposed to later, but you can still do it inside any slicer. You can scale it down by 25% or whatever, you know, depending on what size you want to get. So if we want, we can go ahead and do 8, enter, and then resize subtool. As you see, all of them are selected, so it's going to do all of them, anything that's visible. And then just go ahead and run the action, and it will resize everything to that 8 inches that we want. Okay, so we can actually turn him off. Everybody is at 8 inches now. Okay, the only thing to watch out for is if you did the print cutters prior to doing your scale, they're, as you can see, they're quite a large void in there. So you have to go to each cutter. So if we hit solo here, we'll see this one encompasses both of these. And if we just run the action up here, you can change it to 1, or we'll set it to 0.5. And as you can see, it makes a decent little cut there, but not so visible when you're printed out and you put it all back together, because that's the idea. You don't want to see a lot of these cuts and stuff like that. You want to make it kind of invisible once you glue it all back together and sand it down just a little bit. So I'm going to go to each one of the cutters here and go ahead and just run that macro real quick. And just a couple more here. One more. Okay, now we're all set up. Let's go ahead and run our Boolean cut. Now you guys have already seen this in previous videos. Sorry, I'm kind of going over things again, but I'm trying to rush through it as fast as I can for you. So Boolean with subdivision. And there we go. We've got our cut up model here. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete other, always. So now we have just our cut up model. Okay. So we're just going to assume that it's perfect. And we don't have to do anything to it. Well, we still have to do some processing behind it, because we got to split up all these models and get it out of Zbrush and into a slicer. So let's go ahead. There's a couple ways you can go about it here. Let me close up this real quick. You can do an auto group, and you can always go to my Gumroad and get this UI. It's available for free, so not a big deal. You can go grab that. A lot of these things they're all hidden within these panels here. So polygroup and auto groups here. But I got this UI. It makes it easy for me, and hopefully it'll make it easy for you if you go and grab it. So as you can see, we've gotten everything set up. Got a polygroup for everybody there. You can always go to split in the subtool menu, and you can do a group split. But there's also an option here. You could do split to parts. So we're going to do that, and basically split to parts is any shell that's separated from another one, it'll split it off into those parts. So we're just going to do that. So it's kind of the same process as auto groups and group split, but without having to do auto groups. You could just do split to parts, and always. Alright, and now let's split it up into 16 parts. So let's go ahead and see what parts we have here. We're going to solo each one here. I'm going to turn the line off. There we go. Okay, so that looks okay. We don't need that little pin there that was created from the cutter. We can go ahead and delete him. Always. And it's another pin. We're going to have like 4 pins we're going to have to delete. And we got looks like just an oddball triangle somewhere, so we're going to go ahead and delete him. That looks good. Oops, angle was off there. Huh. Well, we're just going to go with it. That's fine. And there's another pin. Delete. Another pin. Delete. 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 Alright, there's an arm. Keep that. Hand, backpack, another arm, hand, legs, head, and that's it. Okay, so we got 9 subtools to send out here. So before you send anything out, I would go through each one of these guys here. Okay, we're going to solo it and just do some quick actions real quick. Okay, and I got it set up on my UI here, which makes it super easy because I got to get a lot of things ready for 3D printing. So what I like to do, this little process I do, is basically I close any holes and then just kind of keep an eye out on your active points up here. And I close any holes, fix the mesh. It'll run the operation successful. As you can see, the active points changed just slightly. So it welded some points together. It did something. It helped fix the mesh. And then usually what I'll do is I'll grab like a little corner of it and Control-Shift-A, and then make sure it's good. Do a delete hidden, and if that message comes up, we should be good. And then I'll just run a Control-W just to group everything together, because by default ZBrush will export your meshes out with polygroups, but sometimes some programs will separate the mesh. So I think Marmoset does it and a couple others do it, but I'll just give it a single polygroup. So I'm just going to go through each one of these real quick. Well, that's what I will do. What I actually already did, I already tested all this out just to make sure. So, but basically you go through each one of these and you do that same operation over and over and over, okay? And at this point I would probably go in there, rename it, you know, like this one's the body, base, you know, left arm, left hand, or right hand, no, left hand, backpack, right arm, right hand, legs, head, okay? That's what I would do if I wasn't lazy, but I was lazy and I did it earlier, so I'm not going to sit here and bore you with it. So basically, after you've gone through and you fixed up all the meshes, just doing that simple little process just to make sure nothing, you know, try to do as much as you can to fix things before you send it to a slicer, because some of these slicers can be real sensitive to non-manifold meshes, to overlapping polygons. Some of them can be real sensitive and won't take that mesh in. Okay, so take a little time before you send it out, is basically what I'm saying. So we're going to open up another plugin and just go to Subtool Master, and what we'll do, and this is why you want to make sure everything's labeled correctly, but export, you want to clear your mask, show any hidden points, single polygroup for each subtool, so that'll help out if you didn't, because when it closes holes and stuff like that, it'll make a new polygroup, so you want to make sure it changes it to a single polygroup. So that's a good one to keep on. And then OBJ file is fine. That's typically what I like to stick with. STL seems to rip out some useless information, and I don't know. So OBJ is usually what I like to work with, but you can also make STLs as well. So we're just going to stick with the OBJ, click OK. We're going to just go pick a folder real quick. And let's see, where did I put it? Tutorials, print cutters, and then I put a bunch here in the test folder. So all you have to do is pick that folder and then click save, and it'll run all that process into there. So I already did that already. So what we're going to do is I'm going to jump over to Prusa Slicer, and we're going to continue on from there. Alright, here we are in Prusa Slicer. I'm going to just open up my folder that has all the meshes in there that I did earlier, and just drag and drop it. And one thing you'll note real quick, that everything is on its back, okay? Well, because Zbrush is weird on its Z and Y axis. They're actually flipped. So you kind of have to remember that when you export out. But Prusa Slicer has got some options to help you along there, and that's why I picked it today. And also, it's free, so why not? So, and you can configure this to any printer out there. Unfortunately, this is not the tutorial for that. I am not a slicer guru, so there's a lot of awesome channels out there about Prusa and 3D printers, so just go check it out. I watch a lot of them, so yeah, definitely go check them out. So basically, it brought in all our objects here. So what we could do, we could just click and drag, move things around, get things out of the way, and then we can worry about flipping things around, okay? Okay, so it's got a cool little tool here, and if you go right here, place on face. So you just click it, click the object you want, and then pick a face you want to lay flat on. So I want this one here, this one here, and I actually cut this one correctly, unlike the other one that I showed you a minute ago. This one. And the reason we're cutting things up, for one, especially if you're doing an FDM printer or even a resin printer, you want to try to alleviate as much support and extra work that you have to do afterwards. Yes, you still have to glue the things together, but I think that's trivial, to be honest with you. I rather, you know, reduce the amount of supports that I have to put onto a model, you know, that I have to take off a model, and especially on FDM, because it can, and I'll show you here with Prusa, it shows you exactly how much time it costs you to have support material on your model. So let's go ahead and go here. I want to face like that. This might not be the most optimal way of orientating these guys here, and I know these guys are gonna be tricky, so I'll have to just do a regular rotate on these guys. And shift always constrains it, and then it will put it up on the build plate so it lays flat. So obviously we want to okay, let's go ahead and try this guy. See how it popped it right up onto the bed? So it's a pretty smart little slicer. I like it. So I'll be honest, I haven't used the G-code on my printer yet, but it's, from what I've seen, it does some pretty cool things. Alright, so I've got everybody kind of up exactly where I want them, or, you know, so let's go ahead and look up above it here. Obviously you want to try to group them a little bit, so the further the print head has to travel, the longer the print will take. So it's always better just kind of group them together. Just make sure you give enough space for the supports to generate around it. And move that hand out just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I've just got this set up on just some generic PLA settings here. And we will run, we want a brim on here. And usually print settings, infill, gyroid looks cool, but it takes a little longer. This adaptive cubic actually is interesting, and I'm gonna do 30%, and this adaptive cubic will actually save you time on doing your slices or doing the print time. It'll actually be a shorter amount of time, but still about the same amount of strength. So let's go ahead and slice now and see what happens. Okay, I goofed up there. Let's do support everywhere, and let's slice again. Okay, done slicing. As you can see, we got a lot of stats over here, which is quite nice. I do like that. Right now it's looking at 12 hours and 8 minutes to run it on my Taz printer. But yeah, if we had done this as one whole model, there would have been probably a lot of support material going around. But now we've alleviated quite a bit of it to where we can easily remove it from, you know, if we had left the arms out, the arms would have had like a ton of support material going up. I think, to be honest, I think cutting up your model is just so much better. And if your printer can't support such a large model, this is the best way to go about it. You can print this guy up to be, you know, a couple, like 24 inches tall, and you know, you print off like one thing at a time, like the base first, and then the body, and then like one or two arms at a time. You know, if anything, I probably would have cut the legs just a little bit to remove some of the support material. So, but that's basically it in a nutshell. Like I said, this ain't really a slicer video. I'm just trying to show you how to get it into a slicer and make it work for you. We lucked out on not having any problems with our mesh. You would have seen like a small triangle here saying that the mesh had errors, and you'd have to right click on it and fix it. But you can also use 3D Builder to take your models in to repair them even more, because Zbrush can only go so far with it. It's not perfect. That's why we have other tools to help us out. So I hope this this helps you out and can get you started. Definitely check out, get online and do a search for 3D printers and stuff like that. There's a lot of good tutorials out there and a lot of good discussion about them. So definitely get on there and check them out. And if you guys got any questions or any requests, definitely shoot me a message and I will see what I can do for you. Otherwise, once again, I hope this helped you out, and you guys have a great day and have fun 3D printing your models.